If you've been playing Shapez 2 since launch, you know exactly how confusing the upgrade system can be. There are so many options in front of you that spending your resources on the wrong ones early on can compromise your factory's efficiency later. I've played extensively since the 1.0 release, testing builds, breaking my own production lines more times than I'd like to admit, and I've finally put together what I believe are the 10 upgrades that actually make a difference. Not just the ones that look good on paper, but those that genuinely change how your factory functions. If you want to stop wasting resources and start building something that scales properly, stick with me because this list can save you a lot of trouble. In 10th place, we have train wagon capacity. And I want to be honest with you, this upgrade is useful, but the timing of your investment makes all the difference. If you're just starting to set up your rail network, dumping points into wagon capacity right away might seem smart, but it can silently work against you. The point is this: larger wagons take longer to fill. In the early stages of the game, when you are rushing to hit smaller goals and maintain your factory's rhythm, a train sitting at a station waiting to load is basically a train doing nothing. You want fast turnover, not a massive hull that takes an eternity to fill before it even leaves the platform. That said, don't ignore this upgrade entirely. Once your factory is running at full scale, multiple platforms, complex shape recipes, trains circulating everywhere, wagon capacity becomes extremely valuable. Instead of sending 5 trains to do the work of one, a few well-loaded wagons can carry everything you need, reducing congestion on your rail network and keeping everything cleaner and more efficient. Treat this as a late-game investment. Let your factory grow until it needs this first, expand your network, stabilize your throughput, and then start scaling the wagons. Force it too early, and you'll be staring at a half-empty train, wondering why your delivery lines feel slower than before. In 9th place, we have extraction speed for miners, one of those upgrades that seems simple on the surface, but once you understand what it does under the hood, you start seeing your factory in a completely different way. The idea is straightforward. The faster your extractors work, the more raw shapes hit the output belt, and the faster everything downstream can function at the right pace. The problem this upgrade solves efficiently is this: without it, you're tempted to cover every inch of a shape deposit with extractors just to ensure enough volume. That works, but it leaves your mining fields looking like total chaos, full of machines piled on top of each other with no room to breathe. With the right speed, you can do more with less, and that completely changes the visual and organizational structure of your factory. Think of it this way: a slow extractor is a bottleneck at the source. No matter how much you optimize the rest of the chain, the belts, the processors, the trains, if the starting point is lagging, the entire flow suffers. Extraction speed ensures the source is never the issue, and when the source flows freely, everything downstream follows. That's why this upgrade earns its spot. It isn't glamorous, it doesn't have the visual appeal of a massive assembly line, but it is fundamental. It's the type of improvement where you feel the difference immediately, and when you start scaling your factory for real, you'll be glad you invested in this early. Let me ask you a quick question. How many times have you watched your entire factory grind to a halt because a single resource was backing up in the wrong place? If you've played Shapez 2 long enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This specific problem is what puts overflow splitters in 8th place. Their function is simple but powerful. When a material has nowhere to go in the main flow, the overflow splitter automatically diverts that excess to the trash. No manual intervention, no pausing, and none of that horrible domino effect where one belt stalls and pulls the one behind it down too. Your line simply keeps running. Now, think about this in the context of a MAM, a make-anything machine. You're dealing with multiple inputs, different recipes, and demands that change constantly. Without this escape valve, any small imbalance between resources becomes a major problem very quickly. Overflow splitters are what keep this complex system stable without you having to babysit it. Sending shapes to the trash feels wrong at first, I get that, but the stability you gain in return is incomparable. A factory that never stalls produces infinitely more than an efficient factory that stops every 10 minutes. Don't look at this upgrade as waste. Look at it as the insurance that keeps everything else running. Vortex Inputs is the upgrade you only truly value once you've made the mistake of ignoring it. You spend hours optimizing your factory, every line running at the right rhythm, every shape processed with precision. And then you get to the delivery point and realize the vortex itself is the bottleneck. It's one of the most frustrating feelings in the game. The problem is both visual and practical. When you have multiple lines arriving loaded to score points and the vortex doesn't have enough inputs to absorb them, shapes start backing up before they get there. That congestion right before the final delivery is basically your entire factory choking in the last yard. All the previous optimization work loses its meaning if the intake can't keep up with the production. Increasing the vortex's receiving capacity solves this directly. With more inputs available, you can connect several lines simultaneously and ensure everything produced reaches the scoring zone without queuing, waiting, or wasting throughput. It's the difference between a factory that produces a lot and a factory that scores a lot. And at the end of the day, the latter is what matters. Think of the vortex as the finish line of a race. It doesn't matter if you have the fastest runners in the world if they all have to squeeze through the same narrow door at once. This upgrade widens that door, and as your operation scales, you will feel the impact of every additional input directly in your delivery numbers. One thing the game doesn't explicitly warn you about early on is that colors will be a hassle. Mid-game, you start noticing that your painting lines are consuming too much space, requiring too many machines, and still failing to keep up with the volume of shapes your factory is churning out. This is the moment you realize why painting speed is in 6th place on this list. Every point invested in this upgrade is directly proportional to space reclaimed on your platform. A faster painter processes more shapes per second, meaning you need fewer machines in a row to saturate a belt. In Shapes 2, platform space is one of the most valuable resources, especially when you still need to fit paint mixers, buffers, and all the color infrastructure in the same area. Consider the scenario without this upgrade. You end up sacrificing entire layouts just to stack painters in sequence to maintain flow. The result is a cramped, visually confusing platform that is hard to expand and even harder to fix when something goes wrong. Painting speed is what allows your color operation to be compact, organized, and scalable at the same time. It's an upgrade that acts silently, but changes everything. You won't see an immediate production explosion like with other flashy upgrades, but you'll feel the difference every time you need to expand a line and realize you still have room to spare. Ultimately, an organized factory produces more than a cluttered one, and this upgrade is a key to keeping that organization intact. We've reached the top 5, and this upgrade deserves to be here for one simple reason: it changes the nature of the game. While you're stuck on the first floor, Shapez 2 is a game of horizontal optimization. You expand outwards, occupy more space, and eventually feel like you're spreading too thin without gaining real efficiency. Unlocking the second and third floors turns this logic completely upside down. Suddenly, the same coordinate that previously held one production line can now hold 3. You start thinking vertically, stacking operations that would have required separate platforms, connecting floors with elevators, and creating designs that were impossible before. This compaction isn't just visual, it has a direct impact on the distance materials travel, delivery speed, and the number of belts you need to manage. What's truly impressive about this upgrade is how it forces you to rethink layouts you thought were already optimal. A line that seemed efficient on a horizontal plane gains a new layer of potential when you use the space above it. Processes that consume too much space suddenly become compact, and that constant platform pressure begins to ease considerably. It's the type of upgrade that divides your gaming experience into before and after. Before floor expansion, you are building a factory. After it, you are building a real industrial operation, dense, efficient, and organized in layers. If you haven't unlocked this yet, you are playing with half the potential Shapez 2 has to offer. 4 upgrades left, and this one is what separates those building a factory from those building the same thing repeatedly by hand. Without blueprints, every new production segment you add is a manual process, placing machine by machine, belt by belt, configuration by configuration. It works, but at a certain point, you realize you're spending more time rebuilding than actually evolving. With this upgrade unlocked, a layout that took you 10 minutes to assemble can be replicated in seconds. Found the perfect design for processing a specific shape, save it as a blueprint, and paste it as many times as needed, wherever needed. This isn't just a convenience, it's what makes actual scaling possible without the game turning into a tedious chore of infinite manual construction. What I like most about this system is that it also serves as a standardization tool. When all your production modules are copies of the same optimized blueprint, your entire factory gains a consistency that makes it easier to identify problems, plan expansions, and even improves the general aesthetics of the layout. Everything becomes more cohesive, predictable, and easier to scale without unpleasant surprises. Some upgrades improve numbers, others change how you play. Blueprint creation is definitely the latter. From the moment you have access to it, how you plan, build, and expand changes completely, and you'll hardly want to go back to the manual way after that. There is a specific moment where you look at the distance between your factory and a resource-rich asteroid and think, how am I going to get that here? Extending space belts works, but the cost in platforms, the space consumed, and the complexity of managing it all starts to weigh down in a way that doesn't scale well. That is exactly where the train system comes in and changes everything. Unlocking train delivery isn't just adding a new mode of transport, it's adopting a completely different philosophy of how you connect your factory to the world. Instead of building a continuous chain of belts covering miles of space, you establish stations, define routes, and let the trains do the heavy lifting autonomously. The platform savings this represents are massive when you start comparing the two methods side by side. What's really striking is how much this system frees up your mind during gameplay. Without trains, you are constantly worried about every belt segment between point A and point B. With trains, you design the source, design the destination, and the transport just happens. This gives you the mental and physical space to focus on what actually matters, optimizing processing, not long distance logistics. And when you combine trains with the capacity and speed upgrades that follow, the entire operation gains a robustness that belts could never deliver at the same scale. It's the type of system that once unlocked, you can't imagine playing without. Simple as that. In second place, we have an inseparable duo, and I need to make this very clear from the start. These two upgrades do not work in isolation. Cutting and stacking must be leveled up together at the same pace, always matching the speed of your belts. Trying to evolve one without the other is like changing a car's engine, but forgetting to update the transmission. The entire system loses its synchronization. The reason is straightforward. When cutters and stackers operate at different speeds than the belt, your layout ratios break. A blueprint that worked perfectly starts creating backlogs at points that previously flowed without issue, or leaves idle gaps where there was once constant production. You don't notice it immediately, but the imbalance grows until the entire line needs to be revised from scratch. Keeping these three elements, belts, cutters, and stackers, at the same upgrade level is what ensures your blueprints continue to work as you scale. This alignment is what allows you to replicate modules with confidence, knowing the behavior will be identical to the original regardless of where you paste the layout. It is industrial level production consistency. When you think about the cumulative impact of this over an entire run, it's easy to see why this duo is so close to the top of the list. It's not an upgrade with an immediate flashy effect like unlocking trains or new floors. It's a silent foundation that keeps everything else working as it should. Neglect this, and you'll feel the consequences long before you figure out where the problem lies. First place. And honestly, it's not even a difficult discussion to have. In Shapez 2, everything you build, optimize, and expand depends on one fundamental thing. Materials moving from one point to another. The belt is the nervous system of your factory, and its speed is what determines if that system is functioning or just surviving. Every upgrade you've seen on this list so far, cutters, stackers, painters, trains, floors, all of them have a performance ceiling dictated by the speed of your belts. There's no point in having an ultra-fast cutter if the belt feeding it is slow. There's no point in having huge wagons if the station loading is sluggish. Belt speed is the common denominator of the entire production chain, without exception. What makes this upgrade so powerful is the ripple effect it generates. Every time you go up a speed level, the expansion pace of the entire factory follows. Lines that were at their capacity limit gain breathing room. Blueprints that needed more machines to saturate the flow start working with fewer, and the space you free up can be reinvested into more production. It is an upgrade that multiplies across everything simultaneously. If you could only choose one thing to prioritize in each phase of the game, it would be this. Always. Before expanding lines, before building new platforms, before any other decision, increase your belt speed. Everything else in your factory will benefit immediately, and you'll understand in practice why this upgrade stands alone in first place.